Alright, I am back with a Hades 2 video. I can finally put down the Xbox drama of the past week, at least temporarily, until they say some new batshit crazy thing, or shut down another good studio. And I can talk about Hades, which I've been playing for a decent amount since the day after it came out, and I already have 30 hours into it. I was told there's about maybe 30 hours of content in this, and that is pretty much what I found. I have finished the bulk of the available main storyline to at least some extent, and hit a pair of screens that's like, hey, that's all for now, like adventures continue later. Although if I want to keep playing, there's like challenge mode, there is some new dialogue and farming and stuff I can do, but I figure this is probably a good time to set it down until there's more actual content on the way. And, you know, who knows how long it'll be in early access or when it'll get its updates, but, you know, the last Hades was in early access too. You can't really, you can only tell sporadically that it's in early access because it's not like it's bugging out and things like that. It's a very few specific things where you will run into these screens where it's like, this is the end of the story content. In a couple ways. One is like a level that needs to be built. There are two paths here, like one is down into hell and one is up onto the surface, and you can kind of alternate between them, and they each have their own unique arenas and unique bosses. There are like 3 main stages down to hell, but there's only 2 up to the surface, and like the final level of that is not done. There's also a lot of animation work still to be done where both in-game sprites and character portraits are not done for a lot of characters. The main gods and you know, the main people in town and stuff are all done for the most part, but like every so often you run into someone who's like a rough sketch where they just put like the rough sketch there, or if they haven't even done that, there's sort of this copy and pasted hooded figure that you keep running into where like, oh, this is what's his freaking name who looks at Narcissus, who looks into the well or into the pond, but it's just like some cloaked figure that you can't, you know, actually see. Charon, the boat vendor guy, like he has a little in-game sprite, but when you go and zoom in on him, he's just this hooded figure. That said, you get to experience a ton about the gameplay. There's, you know, the crux of the game is all there, where you have your upgrades in town, you have your 5 weapons, you have like mining tools for resources, you have pets that follow you around, and you have 30 hours of content to farm to some extent. It is not like wildly different than Hades 1 in any real sense. You're playing as Zagreus' is that his name? Zagreus' sister, and she is a warrior, but she's also a witch, so kind of spell crafting is a big thing in here. And there are really like 3 main moves you do here. There's light attack, there's like special, it's not necessarily heavy attack always, but it's like a special attack that does something else with your weapon, and then there is a Q, like force field arena type thing. It's like a sigil you place on the ground that slows enemies, but then if you charge it up, it does damage, and there are a lot of different upgrades to make that stronger. Like you, instead of just having it appear around you, you can like cast it somewhere else. If you have Zeus upgrade it, you can have it shoot down lightning bolts. Apollo will have it shoot down a giant ring of fire, which I'm pretty sure is overpowered. You know, you can modify that in various ways, in addition to obviously modifying your either main attack or special attack. I found the best luck powering up my special moves. And just like Hades, you go into these sort of runs where like sometimes the boons just don't work in your favor and you can't really make a coherent build. Other times you just go absolutely crazy. I just beat Kronos yesterday, who's the main boss of the game, but obviously when you kill him, you got to kill him multiple times, blah, blah, blah. But the first time I beat him was this giant axe that I transformed into a giant scythe by farming an aspect in the late game, which like just slightly modifies its abilities and stuff. And I did some build where like you can charge up its special attack, and do this like big AoE like slam of multiple things in front of you, and you get the upgrade that makes the slam bigger, and you get the upgrade that makes it explosive, and you get you know, a mana regen upgrade and a casting upgrade, so you can cast it really fast. And like when all these things come together, it's pretty crazy, and you can get to like some insane damage, and then if you get to the end and you fail, it makes you really frustrated because you're like, that was a good run, I should have got him. Also in that build, there's sort of a tangential move here too, where your super is sort of charged up the more mana you use, and that can be any number of things between just like a blast of damage, or you can stop time for a few seconds. My favorite, I think, was summoning a dead enemy to come and fight for you. A lot of times when games do this, it's like it kind of sucks, and the enemy just sort of hits not very hard and dies. Here, it's actually very good. I use this on a number of bosses that it takes damage. It does pretty decent damage on its own. And with something like that axe build, when you're spending and regenning like 25 mana every 2 seconds, like you can essentially always spam that special and have that up. None of this is the gameplay footage you're seeing. I recorded this much earlier in my playthrough when I was still kind of at the lower levels here. There are some... I think them also would help with spoilers to some extent. Early in the game, early in the story. There are not like too many. I wouldn't consider anything here like wildly shocking with the story. It's actually kind of weird because like your Melano is like trying to kill Kronos, who has imprisoned her family, including Zagreus and Ares, and like her getting revenge for her mother. But like she's like, I never met these people. Like, I don't really have any attachment to them, but like, Kronos sucks, I'm gonna kill him. Like, she says this many, many times. There are a new cast of characters here. There's like her witch mentor, one of the your main rival is Nemesis, but like, obviously you just give her a bunch of presents, and she's like, actually, I don't hate you. Let's go in the hot springs together. There's like hints of romance in this, but as of right now, there's not like actual romance in here. Like, there's, what's the dude? Is it Perseus? I can't remember. The dude who crashed his ship and through the Odysseus. He's the other main guy in town, and like you take him to the hot springs, and he's like, I'm embarrassed. But like there's all this talk of like, oh, the Hades characters are so hot, but like there's not really romance at this point. Maybe that's patched in later. You can see your like relationship status with these things, and there's like sort of locked segments at the ends that I think you may just not have access to in the current version of the game, because I don't know if all that stuff has been patched in yet, or if they've done like the final, if you max out a character, what do you get? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's like somewhere hidden in the end game, but I haven't seen it. It just says like, come back later. There's some cool characters. There's Strife, who's like Harley Quinn. She has the railgun from the last game. Nemesis has Zagreus' sword. So like, there's a lot of callbacks to the old game, certainly, and clearly it plays very much like Hades 1, Hades 1 being an incredible game. So, more Hades with some tweaks is actually pretty good. I really like the level design. As I said, there's one step down to hell and one step up to the surface. It's essentially split in half. Like, these are, at least when they build out the end of the surface level, these will be sort of equal playthrough ways to go through. So if you're tired of running the same thing over and over again, you just switch to the other one. I think they've done interesting things with level design where, yes, there's like we go into this room and kill things, and then we pick a path, we go into that room and kill things, and we go all the way through like that. But eventually you get to some areas where it's like a big open area, and you have to like find the boons, and there's all these enemies roaming around, or there's a ship, and it's like a really narrow play space, and you have to like move up the decks of the ship while killing enemies. And it's pretty creative, I would argue, in terms of sort of how they evolve the level structure here. Really creative boss fights. A lot of people have been talking about the Siren boss fight. I'm not sure if that's in my footage here, but there's some pretty cool fights in here. Varying degrees of difficulty, and it did take me a significant amount of time to beat the last surface boss and Kronos, the hell boss, because they start hitting really hard, and you really, really have to have a good build come together. Obviously, there are upgrades and things as you sort of move along, and those are significantly helpful. There's like your deck of cards, and you can upgrade that over time. That really gives you highly significant bonuses, and without that, you would not be making very much progress at all. You especially need the things that you're more likely to find, like rare and epic boons, things like that. You'll get like triple your starting health and mana the more you upgrade things, things like that. There's also some challenges where they give you like a specific loadout, and you have to make your way through a level and beat the boss in a way that does not use your normal build, and you just sort of have to rely on gameplay and a little bit of creativity. And then at the end game, there's similar to what we saw last time, where it's a challenge mode where you give enemies buffs, give yourself debuffs, and you earn some end game materials to further upgrade your arsenal and things. I've done a few of those, but again, I think I'm gonna set the game down for the time being. Yeah, obviously highly recommend it. Apparently they said that they're going to have progress carry over to the final release. I would not be super thrilled if I lost 30 hours of progress, which is essentially an entire week of myself devoting to one game. So I'm going to take that on their word that they will actually stick to that and figure that out. And as such, I mean, I can recommend this. See, if you're a Hades super fan, I would definitely log in and play now rather than waiting for 1.0 personally. If you have not played Hades, I don't see any reason to not just buy and play Hades 1, which is dirt cheap right now. And, well, there are improvements in this game, and, like, I don't think you really need to know the full story of Hades 1, but, like, that's a complete game. And you can play all of it right now, and I think you'd have a really great time with it. I was not into this genre at all. I am not a roguelike person where you go through the levels, you die, you repeat them all again. Like, I was never into this type of game until Hades, and I'm really not into other types of this game except Hades. So it really sort of expands, your horizons in terms of the genre of games you might play. Like, oh, it's these little cartoony graphics, and like it doesn't matter. It's awesome. Just trust me. So yeah, that's my current thoughts on Hades. We'll circle back to this when there's more content added, but back to seeing what stupid thing Xbox and or PlayStation is going to do in the next 48 hours here. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.